If you can't afford to pay the high prices, you risk flooding over and over again. Our flood zones flood probably at least every year, a time or two, and you have to redo that house, especially when we get hurricanes, etc. Yeah, a lot of the densely populated areas of Texas are straight up on flood zones. Anyway, all right, let's get to the news. Just so everyone can stop being insane in the chat. Oh.
Central Texas, at least 24 people killed, and the urgent search going on right now for more than 20 girls missing from a summer camp, completely destroyed by the raging waters. ABC's Maria Villarreal is on the ground there in Kerrville.
Yeah, we're talking about the flash floods in Texas now.
Night to try and find the missing.
This morning, search and rescue crews desperately looking for the missing following the deadly floods in Central Texas. The storm killing at least 24 people, with many more still missing. Families pleading for information after more than 20 children still unaccounted for from a summer camp.
I have assured all of the local officials here, whatever these communities need, the state of Texas is going to step up and provide it.
The city of Kerrville seeing some of the worst devastation, urging residents to evacuate and move to higher ground. The mayor issuing a disaster declaration as the Guadalupe River reaching 26 feet high, the second highest recorded height in history. 12 inches of rainfall in a matter of hours, flooding roads, buildings, and cars, and sweeping away houses. Entire neighborhoods left unrecognizable. This RV park completely destroyed. The same flood waters almost sweeping away this man and his wife.
We went ahead and jumped out, and we got washed down 3 houses, and we finally ended up snagged on a big bush.
Helicopters hovering over trees, performing urgent rescues like this one. Crew members picking someone out of the branches. In nearby Hunt, Texas, families urgently trying to find their loved ones at Camp Mystic, an all-girls summer camp of 750 children. More than 20 campers still missing.
We will stop at nothing to ensure that every asset and person and plane and whatever is needed is going to be involved in the process of rescuing every last person.
The camp was evacuated after flooding hit the Guadalupe River, and while some parents have been reunited with their children, others continue to wait for answers. The family of one camper, 10-year-old Greta Toranzo from Houston, telling us that their daughter is still missing.
Please pray for our community. This is a hard day, and there will be hard days to come.
Absolutely devastating, obviously, for this entire community and also for the families of the missing. Some of them are actually posting pictures just like this with their names and information of many of these campers, trying to get the word out there of what their children look like, trying to aid in the rescue and the search any way they can. Meanwhile, officials are warning this community that more rain is on the way for later today. Janae?
Just unimaginable heartbreak for those families, Maria. Thank you. Let's bring in Cheryl Scott from our Chicago station WLS. And Cheryl, what can you tell us about this flooding?
And destruction to homes. You can see the trees down, and then this is overlooking the Llano River in Texas right now, and you can clearly see the raging, rushing water here, clearly overflowing its banks. More rain on the way, and that's why we do have alerts up in effect for parts of central Texas. We have that flash flood emergency, which has been issued for parts of Travis and Burnett County throughout the morning, with an additional 5 to 10 inches of rainfall in this area. So more flash flooding and destructive flooding will be a concern throughout the day today. Gio.
Okay, Cheryl, we will be following that throughout the morning, and we are thinking of those families. Thank you for that.
At least 27 people have been killed, many of them young girls, in flash floods in the U.S. state of Texas, with 27 still missing. Rescue efforts continued today in Kerr County after the equivalent of 4 months of heavy rain fell in just 2 hours in the early hours of yesterday, causing the Guadalupe River to break its banks. Several of those unaccounted for are young campers who were staying at an all-girls summer camp along the banks of the river.
Heavy rain was predicted, but not like this. The River Guadalupe in central Texas transformed into a roiling flash flood as the waters rose 8 meters in the space of 2 hours, sweeping away upturned trees, plastic junk, and, it's feared, dozens of girls at a Christian summer camp a few miles upstream of the small town of Kerrville. Among the confirmed dead, 9-year-old Renee Smalstra. At least 20 of her friends are thought to still be missing. It is a terrible wait for families and friends. Billeted at a local primary school, now a makeshift reunification center.
We will do everything humanly possible 24/7, looking at every tree, turning over every rock, whatever it takes, if your child is one of those truly missing and not just out of touch, to find your daughter.
The aftermath is close to apocalyptic. Residential streets completely submerged, car roofs barely recognizable under the free-flowing waters. Entire homes lifted from their stanchions and dumped asunder. Helicopters winched survivors to safety in the midst of panic.
By the time I went to get my keys to move my truck out of the way, to just back up across the street, the water had risen and flooded my truck. The water got up there in the door about this high, and I looked at my wife and it was like, we need to get out of here.
This part of Texas is known as Flood Alley. Underneath these waters lie thin soil.
When we bought our house here in Texas, it was roughly $100K less to buy within a flood zone. It's dystopian here. If you can't afford to pay the high prices, you risk flooding over and over again. Our flood zones flood probably at least every year, a time or two, and you have to redo that house, especially when we get hurricanes, etc. Yeah. A lot of the densely populated areas of Texas are straight up on flood zones. This is a once-in-a-lifetime situation. It's like, okay, but it's happening multiple times a year, so I don't know if it's a once-in-a-lifetime situation because it doesn't feel like it's a once-in-a-lifetime situation. You can't keep saying that if it's happening multiple times a year. And at which point, we have to obviously redesign society around at least prevention and also relief and recovery, when in fact, the current administration is moving in the exact opposite direction of that and just saying like, no, it's fine. Also, we don't need to monitor the tectonic movements at all. We don't need to try to figure out if the volcano is going to erupt at all. And also, whatever kind of like relief and recovery efforts we need in the aftermath of the volcano, we don't need that either. The government or something. And it's the same thing with these natural disasters, where we know that they are increasing in size, magnitude, frequency. They are no longer extreme weather events that are once in a lifetime. It's happening numerous times throughout the year. We know what the reason is, but nobody wants to actually actively say what the reason is. And on top of that, we are underfunding the prevention methods. We're underfunding the warning systems, and we are underfunding the recovery and relief efforts. So if you don't actually literally laser in on the problem, the actual problem, you have to come up with an alternative solution. And that's precisely how you arrive at these weird conspiracy theories. That's it. Conspiracy theories are an inevitability if you are desperately avoiding the truth and you need like some sort of fantastical narrative that ties everything together.
The original forecast that we received on Wednesday from the National Weather Service predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches of rain in the Hill Country. We worked with our own meteorologists to fine-tune that weather statement, and as many of you know, and many of you in broadcast journalism and meteorology, you can go back and look at your own forecast, and the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts.
Extreme weather events like hurricanes in the U.S. Deep South and fires in California are getting more frequent. It's getting harder to forecast what will happen and where. The vast majority of scientists agree that climate chaos is accelerated by humans burning fossil fuels and increased carbon and methane levels in the atmosphere. But at the same time, the climate skeptic Trump administration is cutting funding and staffing at the National Weather Service and NOAA, which conducts climate research. President Trump yesterday promised help for the communities affected. Central Texas, his MAGA heartland.
We're working with the governor. It's a terrible thing.
More heavy rainfall is expected. And while the river waters have begun to recede, the ground is sodden. The risk of further floods has not gone away.
Well, a short while ago, I spoke to Washington Post reporter Arelis Hernandez, who is in Kerr County, and I began by asking her how bad the situation is on the ground.
It's catastrophic for this particular region. Central Texas and the Hill Country is known for floods. The Guadalupe River has flooded in the past, but It seems as though people here did not have a lot of warning that this was coming. And please apologize, there are still rescue helicopters flying overhead.
Yeah.
And people woke up in the middle of the night to rising water all along the Guadalupe River. So where I am, as well as upstream from here, more than 800 rescues were conducted throughout since yesterday morning into today, and those efforts are continuing, waiting to hear whether they will indeed turn into more recovery efforts. So far, I believe 27 is the death toll, and there's still about 24, more than 24 child campers missing.
And that is the horror of this. There are many families that woke up this morning to discover that their daughters may be missing.
Indeed, Camp Mystic is well known throughout the city of Texas. It receives little girls from all across, from Beaumont to Dallas to from Houston, and there were parents who were on their way here to find out whether they would be reunited with their children or if their daughter was among those who are still unaccounted for.
And are there other camps that may be stranded and potentially missing kids?
Well, this is an area popular and a big part of the economy out here, these summer camps, particularly summer youth camps, as well as sort of religious camps. There are about 18 of them. And so there was a similarly situated boys camp, La Junta, that had to be evacuated. As far as we know right now, none of those boys were lost in the water. Most have been evacuated to reunification centers at local high schools, as well as an activity center here not too far away.
And are people angry that the weather forecast didn't predict this huge amount of rain?
I think people are still in the throes of rescue and trying to figure out and put their heads together and processing what has happened here. It's absolutely devastating. I know this area personally. I tube down this river from time to time. I spend a lot of here.
A private weather company is putting blame on local officials. AccuWeather sent warnings ahead of Texas flooding that killed at least 27. These warnings should have provided officials with ample time to evacuate camps such as Camp Mystic and get people to safety. AccuWeather's the one that wants to make the NWS privatize, right? So they can control all of the flow of information for commerce and everything else that's like necessary. They want to make that a monopoly market. They want to control all of the information on weather.
I'm up here at the vineyards, and I think people are still sort of processing and haven't gotten to that point yet. But I do think that angle will rise as we get a better picture of how many lives were lost here and what could have been done to have prevented some of that loss.
And do you anticipate that there will be any kind of discussion around the political context with the defunding of NOAA and weather forecasting? For climate skeptic reasons.
Certainly, inevitably, that those are the types of issues that will come up as it.
Bro, they're going to cynically do the same thing that they did with mass shootings, where they say, how dare you politicize this? I can see it now. They're going to be like, right now, we're too busy with the recovery efforts, so we're not going to be talking about this, but we will remember what all the Democrats said in the meantime, making this into a political football game when it's like, dude, you literally did this. Like, what the f do you mean?
Days continue as search and rescue turns into recovery efforts. I do think that that'll probably be part of the conversation, but certainly not yet what's happening here. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are on social media debating that right now, and defending the National Weather Service. But right now, that is not the conversation that is dominating.
How confident are authorities that the missing people, the missing girls, may be found?
They're making every effort. There have already been sort of miraculous survival stories that have emerged. A woman who was swept almost 20 miles from where she was camping with her family survived by clinging to a tree. I think there is quite a bit of hope, but as we get into deeper into the hours since this tragedy struck, certainly hope is waning.
Arelis Hernandez, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. We're grateful.
Thank you.
And we continue to follow breaking news out of Central Texas. With this hour, a desperate search and rescue effort continues for dozens of people.
This is also like, even if you do a correct autopsy, a correct assessment, and you find out that like the defunding of these agencies did not play a role in this at all, which is highly unlikely because it always plays a role. But let's say they do an autopsy And the autopsy shows that it was because of the severity of this event that even if there were more people that were able to inform people in proper time, that that there would still be plenty of people that got swept away. Okay, then we have to have a larger conversation about how these extreme weather events are, I guess, no longer extreme, that it is just a part of our everyday reality. And therefore, we have to figure out why it's happening. It's that simple.
People missing after floodwaters inundated an area north of San Antonio. Among the missing, 27 young girls from a camp, Camp Mystic, one of many summer camps along the Guadalupe River. And this morning, another round of heavy rainfall triggered more flash flood emergencies in the region. Hundreds have been rescued, including this person who was clinging to a light pole. Officials say at least 27 people have died, 9 children and 18 adults. Among the fatalities, 9-year-old Janie Hunt, her mother confirming to CNN today that the young girl who was among the 24 missing from Camp Mystic has died. And also confirmed killed Jane Ragsdale. She was director at another girls' camp, Heart of the Hills, which was not in session at the time. Ragsdale is described as the heart and soul of that camp. We've got a team of correspondents and
It's so sad, dude.
meteorologists covering these fast-moving developments. Let's begin with CNN's Ed Lavandera in hard-hit Hunt, Texas. Ed.
Hi, Frederica. Well, this morning as we were arriving here in Hunt, Texas, we were surveying some areas that were heavily damaged. And from just beyond this ledge that went down in toward the edge of the river, we heard a man calling out Joyce Catherine. Joyce Catherine happened several times, and we kind of followed the voice, and that's where we met Ty Baden. He is a father of 21-year-old Joyce Catherine Baden. His daughter had come out here to spend the July 4th weekend with 3 other friends at a home just along the river. And they lost contact with the group around 4 a.m. early Friday morning. Ty Baden has spent the morning walking. By the time we met him, he'd already walked along about a mile, had come across the body of another young victim and called it in to 911. And this is a father desperately searching for his 21-year-old daughter in hopes that he would stumble upon a miracle. Your daughter was here with 2 friends?
Yeah, 3.
3 friends.
You know, and
so there's 4 of them.
Correct. And she and the young man, they went to elementary school and high school together. And the young, one of her friends, Ella Cahill, that's her boyfriend, Aiden is, they went to school through high school, so they've known each other a long time. The other girl, her name is Reese. I can't remember her last name right now. She is Ella's roommate at UTSA, so we've never met her or her parents, but God bless her, and we pray that all 4 of them are still alive.
All 4 are missing?
Yes, they're all missing, and you know, it's been 4 o'clock yesterday morning that we were told that, you know, they were on the phone with Aiden's dad, who they own the house where they were. It was a very nice house, no longer there. So we just...
You saw that this morning?
Yes. So we you know, we're just walking and doing the same thing we were doing, look, you know, when we stumbled across him. But hopefully we can find our children, our daughter and her friends alive. So anyway, I ask you if you would pray, and whoever watches this thing, pray. We got together and picked up our son and came over here, and we waited around at a center, and God bless them, they're doing a great job. It's in Ingram, Texas at the elementary school, and they're kind of like the place where all the survivors are brought, and we were hoping that we would hear our daughter and friends' names called, but they never did call. So we said this morning we're going to come out and try to find them ourselves.
I mean, you're walking through this mess, hoping for a miracle.
Amen. Keep the faith. That's all we can do. So that's all I got, Ed. And thank you.
Can you tell us about your daughter?
Yes, she's a beautiful girl, and I think I sent you a picture. Just a wonderful girl.
FEMA does a lot of work in mapping floodplains to assess floods and insurance risk. They're defunding now. will only make things worse. There's about a 25% chance a house will flood in a 30-year mortgage period. If it's in a 1% floodplain, you can type in Kerr County here to see how wide even the 1% floods are mapped from FEMA. I just don't know. I don't know, like where is the disaster recovery people? Like, what? Am I crazy? Shouldn't it be not these guys out there right now? Shouldn't it be like rescue teams mostly out there? Like enough rescue teams that they don't have any need for guys like this, and that guys like this are supposed to literally stay at home under different circumstances. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they normally stop people, like parents, from going to the disaster area because it gets in the way of the recovery and relief efforts, because then it's like not only a liability, but they can also get stuck and then become victims themselves and exhaust the already limited resources that these rescue teams have. I don't know.
Couldn't ask for a better daughter. All through school is just easy, you know, no shenanigans or anything like that. I mean, she was a normal girl. We would have fun, but yes, we loved her dearly.
And Frederico, what just I found gut-wrenching was as we were winding down the interview there, as he continued the search, he told me about how he read a book years ago about a father during World War II whose child had been in a house that had been bombed, trying to search for his son and never gave up. And after days of combing through the rubble, that the man during World War II found his kid. And he just told me, he goes, I hope I'm that guy today. Gosh. And that's
that's powerful.
Rather stunning moment as you think about what that poor man and his family are going through today.
I hope he's that guy too. All right, Ed Lavandera, thank you so much. Officials confirming at least 27 people are dead and dozens more are missing following severe flash flooding in Kerr County. An intense rescue effort is underway right now after torrential downpours triggered the flooding along the Guadalupe River, raising the water level more than 20 feet in less than 2 hours. Our CNN affiliate KABB is on the ground in Hunt, Texas, showing us the catastrophic damage at one community store.
I want to walk you through, they didn't want to be on camera, but they walked me through this area and what it did look like. So they said that this was once all boarded up. This was all brick and now completely opened up. That just goes to show how fierce that storm was and how it powered through. I want you to walk with me down here closer so we can get a closer look inside the actual building. You could just see just the debris that is completely clinging on to the building. But if you take a closer look here inside, you could just see.
My dad keeps saying that this recent natural disaster in Texas happened because of Joe Biden and immigrants. What do I even say to that? What? What are you? What? Bro, I mean, at that point, your dad is he needs to be.
It is just completely packed in there. Just all the debris that just swept right into the Hunt store here in Hunt. This was a staple, they were telling me. I did speak to the cashier who worked here for many years.
That sounds insane. I think that's the blue
devastating.
one on going
what
crazy.
They told me was right over here is where the post office once was. If you believe it, I was completely shocked. He said this is the brick from the post office, and as you can see, it's completely gone at this. It's no longer here. But what we did find was a Cassandra, what's her name tag, which was somewhere further where we first started. It's just. Everything is scattered here. It's just devastating, just the amount of destruction this floodwater caused here in Hunt. So we're still speaking with residents here, and I did ask the cashier here about like rebuilding. You know, where do you go from here? And he says, you know, you just completely take this, you just rebuild from the start, bottom up.
Mm-hmm. And a local resident whose family lived in the area for more than 100 years says he's never seen anything like this.
This very well may be the worst flood Hunt has ever seen because it would have started back up the South Fork. The devastation is unbelievable. How these kids survived in any of these camps along the river is nothing short of a miracle. but I did. I grew up with this store. I've like I said, I've danced here, I've been here, sat by the fireplace in a rocking chair.
I just want to point out something here, but like these people and who they voted for is utterly irrelevant. And if you bring up who they voted for or say they voted for this or even gloat, I will laser you out of existence. Okay. Just like whenever natural, you can't blame the people that are going through this horrific experience. Okay, we don't do that shit here.
And drank a beer. The devastation. There are just no words, Taylor, that I can say that describe what I'm seeing. My ranch, it was completely underwater. The water got that high. Just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And again, 27 people, including 9 children, their bodies have been recovered. They died. And the search continues for 27 young campers, all from an all-girls camp.
In the day